Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Punctuation. In today's short video, I'm going to be talking you through how to set out and punctuate direct speech. When I'm marking students' creative writing, I think that direct speech is where a lot of students lose marks. Some of this is because they don't know how to lay it out on the page, and some of it is because they don't know which punctuation marks to use where. So I'm going to set out 5 key rules to help you punctuate direct speech. Let's get started.
So before we get into the main rules, I do just want to have a quick chat with you about the difference between direct speech and indirect speech, because you will come across both of them in your own writing and in texts that you read. So direct speech is when you are actually quoting a source verbatim. In a story, you're using quote marks to show a sort of immediate speech happening in front of you. So you can see here, direct speech, you need to get to bed right now, his mother warned. Okay, so you can see that those are her exact words and she's speaking them directly. If you were to put it into indirect speech, it would be more of a report of what had been said. So it means that, there's a sort of interpretation on it. So let's look at the example here. His mother warned him that he needed to get to bed straight away. So we still get the same content, but without the immediacy and without it being quoted verbatim. Likewise, in the second example, I just love Stranger Things, she admitted, not for the first time. So that is the absolute direct quote there that the character said. But if it was in indirect speech, it's simply reported. She was always talking about how she loved Stranger Things. So you still get the understanding, you still get the gist that at some point she has said, I love Stranger Things, but it's just being told to us, whereas this is much, much more direct, hence it being called direct speech. So this is an example of the types of mistakes that I see in student work. So I've just written this for you as an example. It's not real work, but imagine an argument that is being had between mother and son about whether or not Stranger Things is suitable. Let's imagine the kid's quite young. So let's just read it out loud. You need to get to bed right now, his mother warned, but Stranger Things is about to come on and it's a feature-length episode, he argued back. I'm not going through this again, young man. You're far too young to be watching it. If I had known how scary it was, I would have never let you watch that first episode. Ugh, you're pathetic, he shouted as he stomped up the stairs. Okay, sounds like a fairly, realistic kind of argument. There's nothing wrong with the content, but it's so difficult to read, and it's because it's riddled with mistakes. So now I'm going to take you through the different rules so you know how to sort out a mess like this and make it much more accurate and easier for the reader, which is ultimately what we want. So, rule number 1. New speech goes on to a new line. So every time a character starts speaking, you always start a new line afresh. So actually, it should look like this. So, first line, you need to get to bed right now. So that's the first bit of speech. So it's on a new line. Then the boy starts arguing back. So, new speech, new line. Stranger Things is about to come on. Now then the mother starts talking again. But it's new because previously, it was the son talking. So because it's the mother again, it's considered new speech. So it goes on to a new line. And then right at the end again, ugh, you're pathetic, he shouted. New speech again, new line. Okay. If after this little bit here, you need to get to bed right now, his mother warned. If she carried on speaking, I'm not saying it again, then you'd keep it here because it's the same person speaking. It's whenever there is a change. So, new speech, new line, easy. Rule number 2. Direct speech needs to be marked with speech marks. Super easy. So, here is where our speech begins. I'm not going through this again, young man. Okay, and so the speech marks are there. And then at the very end, we've again got the speech marks here. Okay, so as soon as you're ready to close it, then speech marks go on the end. Another very easy rule. Rule number 3. Punctuation needs to sit inside of the speech marks. These next few rules are going to be much more based on what punctuation and where. So let's have a little look here. So you need to get to bed right now, his mother warned. So we're putting a comma here for our dialogue tag. It goes before the speech marks. Likewise, here we don't have a dialogue tag, so we're ending with a full stop, and it goes before the speech marks, just as our exclamation mark also goes before the speech marks. So there it is there. Okay, so whatever punctuation you're using, it's always before. You don't need anything after it. I've seen some strange work where, you know, someone's gone, oh, well, I'll put my exclamation mark before my quote marks, and then have randomly put a full stop after as well. No, just one and before. Easy as well. Rule number 4 is about dialogue tags and where you put your punctuation with your dialogue tags. So your dialogue tags are these little bits here. His mother warned, she said, he shouted. Okay, with dialogue tags, they're really, really helpful to show the reader who is speaking. And if you vary them, they can be really helpful as to help us understand how they're speaking, how they're feeling, what the mood and the tone is. But they have to be punctuated accurately. So in this case, when you are just using normal bit of speech, you need to get to bed right now, and adding in a dialogue tag, you need to have a comma, as we know, before the speech marks. You mustn't forget to finish that overall sentence with a full stop. Because what you're essentially doing, if you didn't have a speech tag there or a dialogue tag, you'd put a full stop there, wouldn't you? Because it's the end of the sentence. You need to get to bed right now. Because you're adding in the dialogue tag, that changes to a comma, and then you put the full stop at the end. This one is slightly trickier, okay? So let's look at this. I want you to listen carefully, his mother began, because what I'm about to tell you is incredibly important. So you might ask, well, what's the difference? Why does that one end with a full stop, and why does that one end with a comma? And it's because of the actual utterance that she is saying and whether or not it's complete. So you put a comma before the speech marks to demonstrate that you've got a dialogue tag. But if you look at this in conjunction with this one, you can see it's all part of one complex sentence. I want you to listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you is incredibly important. So in this case, you don't put a full stop there. You put a comma, and then you begin with a lowercase for your because it's all part of the same sentence. Now that's probably the one that people struggle with the most. And if you find that difficult, then maybe think to yourself, I won't interrupt my sentences with a dialogue tag. I'll wait until the end. That's absolutely fine. Just a little note on the punctuation that you can use with your dialogue tags. If you are having a his mother warned, you can only use a comma, a question mark if it's a question mark, or an exclamation mark if you're shouting it or exclaiming it. You can do things like use a ... or a hyphen to show that it's been interrupted. But the one thing that you cannot put here if you're using a dialogue tag is a full stop. If a dialogue tag is there, then this should be a comma, or like I said, a question mark or an exclamation point. Okay? Last rule, rule 5. Use lowercase letters to introduce dialogue tags unless using a character name. So if we go back to our original little bit of dialogue here, if you notice, so here's the end of our speech, bed right now, we've got a comma, and so here we have his mother warned. Yeah, so lowercase his. That makes sense because it's all part of the same sentence. Here, I've changed it so that I'm using the name of the character. But Stranger Things is about to come on, and it's a feature-length episode, comma, Mark argued back with a capital M. You're not going to use a lowercase because it's a proper noun. Okay, but look at this one. This is where you might think, oh, that's a bit odd. Here, because Mark, our young character, is shouting because he's annoyed that he's not able to watch the programme he wants. Ugh, you're pathetic. Now, I've ended it with an exclamation mark, which we know we can do. Now, if it was a regular sentence ended with an exclamation mark, of course, the beginning of the next sentence would have a capital letter, but no, not with a dialogue tag. So when it's a dialogue tag, it remains lowercase. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that those rules have helped you figure out your direct speech. One of the best things you can do now is practice, okay? Practice, practice, practice. Get your teacher to have a little look over it. If you've got any questions about direct speech, do feel free to drop me a little comment and I will get back to you. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, because then you will see not only the videos coming in to help you with spelling, punctuation and grammar, but you'll also be able to see all of the other videos that I do on core text and exam practices for both English language and literature. That's it from me. Thank you so very much once more. Happy writing, happy revising, happy punctuation.